Welcome to the Deep Dive, your ultimate shortcut to truly being well informed without feeling buried under a mountain of information. Today, we're not just discussing a topic, we're embarking on a mind bending journey that might fundamentally reshape how you perceive reality, your sense of self, and even profound concepts like love and truth. Get ready to shift your perspective. Our mission on this deep dive is to unravel an incredibly comprehensive and thought provoking framework, Qualianomics, mathematical ontology of experience. At its very core is something called the Unified Coherence Theory of Everything, or UCTE. This isn't just some philosophical exercise. It's a detailed paper that proposes a radical redefinition of perception, time, identity, emotion, even love, all seen through this lens of coherence. Our goal is to extract the most potent insights, explore the surprising implications for your own life, and provide a clear, structured path through these complex ideas so you can quickly and thoroughly grasp the essence of this groundbreaking framework. Think of it as gaining deep knowledge with surprising clarity. Okay, let's start by laying a truly unique foundation. To genuinely grasp the UCTE, we first need to appreciate the pioneering work of James Gibson and his ecological approach to perception. Now, Gibson wasn't really interested in how your brain, inside your head, pieces together a picture of the world from raw sensory data. Instead, he proposed something far more elegant. That perception is about directly detecting unchanging structures in the environment, what he called invariance laws. These aren't like Newton's laws of physics, mind you. Rather, Gibson saw them as perceptual regularities, stable patterns in the light, sound, or physical environment that our perceptual systems are exquisitely tuned to pick up on effortlessly.
And what's truly revolutionary about Gibson's approach is that it shifts perception from being something we construct internally, in the mind, to something we directly detect in the world around us. He argued that organisms perceive a stable world not by building complex internal mental models, but by directly picking up on these constant, meaningful structures. It fundamentally moves the act of perceiving out of just the head and into the dynamic relational interaction between you and your environment.
That reframing is absolutely key. So let's unpack some of Gibson's foundational invariance principles because they act as crucial building blocks that the UCTE later integrates in a, really profound way. The first one is invariance under transformation. The core idea here is that certain aspects of the visual information reaching your eye, what Gibson termed the optic array, remain constant even as you, the observer, move or as the object itself changes its orientation. Think about a simple coffee mug on your desk. As you walk around it, the image projected onto your retina is constantly shifting. It gets bigger, smaller, changes shape, but you never lose the sense that it's the same solid mug ready to hold your coffee. Your brain isn't frantically reconstructing the mug each second. It's detecting something about the mug that doesn't change despite the shifting perspective.
And that's exactly how we achieve what we call object constancy. Despite the ceaseless flux of sensory input, your perceptual system is attuned to the persistent, unchanging properties of the object. Its functional qualities, its affordances, as Gibson would say, remain invariant. It's a profound testament to how our systems are wired to pick up on stability amidst change.
Next, we dive into texture gradient invariance. Have you ever noticed how the intricate pattern of cobblestones on a road or the individual blades of grass in a field appear to change as they recede into the distance?
Absolutely. Gibson observed that textures on surfaces project predictable gradients in the optic array. As you look further down that cobblestone road, the individual stones appear smaller and more compressed together. But the rate at which that compression occurs, the gradient itself, is remarkably regular and lawful. This specific type of invariance allows your perceptual system to directly perceive depth and the orientation of surfaces without having to make conscious calculations. You're not inferring depth, you're directly detecting the lawful progression of that texture.
Building on that, we have motion parallax invariance. This sounds really cool. If you've ever looked out the window of a moving car or train, what happens to the objects that are really close to you compared to those far off in the distance?
It's a striking phenomenon, isn't it? As you move, objects that are close by seem to zip past much faster in your visual field than objects that are far away, like distant mountains that seem to crawl. The invariance here lies in the consistent relative motion between near and far objects. This relative difference in apparent speed is a direct signal to your perceptual system about the 3D spatial layout of your environment. You effortlessly grasp the depth and distance of things around you by picking up on these specific motion patterns.
And closely related to that is optical flow field invariance. Imagine you're walking straight ahead. The world seems to expand around you, but there's always a central point, a destination, that seems stable even as everything else rushes past.
Yes, that's precisely the focus of expansion. As you move, the entire pattern of light in your visual field, the optical flow, contains an invariant structure. When you walk forward, the world appears to flow outwards from this central point, and that focus point remains perfectly stable, indicating your direction of motion. This structured flow is how your perceptual system, unconsciously, knows you're moving and precisely where you're headed. It's fundamental for self-motion perception and navigation.
Now, for a concept that truly redefined perception and action, invariance and affordances, this is where Gibson argued that we don't just perceive objects as static things, but rather as bundles of possibilities for action.
Affordances are defined as the direct, invariant relations between an environment and an organism. Essentially, what an object or environment offers or affords you to do. A chair, for example, affords sitting. Its sittability remains a constant, invariant property, regardless of whether you view it from the front side or from above. The revolutionary aspect of affordances is that they inextricably link perception and action, blurring the line between the observer and the environment. You're not just seeing a chair, you're directly perceiving its potential for interaction, for sitting.
And finally, Gibson highlighted invariant ratios and relations.
Right. These are consistent proportions that hold true despite changes in perspective. A classic example is the horizon ratio. The horizon always appears at eye level, whether you're standing on flat ground or atop a tall building. These invariant ratios are incredibly powerful in perception, helping us reliably judge height, size, and distance in our environment, regardless of our specific vantage point. They provide stable anchors in a constantly changing visual scene.
So Gibson's work gives us this incredibly powerful idea that perception isn't some complex mental construction. It's about directly detecting these stable, unchanging patterns. This fundamentally challenges our intuitive understanding of how we see the world. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. How do these Gibsonian insights, which seem so grounded in sensory experience, find a much deeper, almost cosmic home within the unified coherence theory of everything?
This is the critical bridge. The UCTE, as a completely new ontological framework, offers a radical lens for understanding not just perception, but all of existence and experience. It's built fundamentally on the concepts of coherence. Think of it as perfect alignment or synchronicity, and resonance, the powerful amplifying effect of that alignment. Our mission in this next section is to show how Gibson's principles aren't just compatible with the UCTE, they are seamlessly integrated, finding their profound explanation within this overarching coherence framework. In the UCTE, perception is no longer just about light hitting your retina. It's redefined as a resonant interaction between what we call the observer coherence field, your unique dynamic field of consciousness, and the environmental resonance field, the vibrating structured field of the world around you. What's absolutely key here is that Gibsonian invariants are not static objects or fixed properties in the traditional sense. Instead, they are understood as stable coherence relations that persist across symmetry reductions, meaning they remain stable, coherent patterns even as things like motion, time, angle, or scale transform. They are the fixed points in a dynamic, flowing reality.
That's a huge conceptual leap. Can you break down some of the key UCTE concepts that directly map to how we perceive, giving us a clearer picture of this interaction?
Certainly. First, we introduce the observer function, which the UCTE calls ARO, or asymmetry resonance operations. Think of ARO as your unique filtering and focusing mechanism. It performs the necessary operations that reduce higher dimensional coherence, the vast, infinite possibilities of reality, into those specific, perceivable invariants that Gibson identified. It's how the vastness of the field gets narrowed down into what you specifically experience, moment by moment.
Okay, so ARO is like the filter. What about the SEO?
Right, the consciousness function, or SEO, the symmetry coherence operator. This is like your internal amplifier and stabilizer. It enhances your ability to cohere or align with specific resonance structures in the environment. This alignment, in turn, increases your perceptual unity and depth, allowing you to focus, grasp patterns, and experience things as a unified whole.
And affordance, how does that fit in?
When it comes to affordance, in the UCTE, it's equivalent to functional resonance compatibility. This means that a chair doesn't just look sittable, it resonates as sittable with your observer coherence pattern. It's a direct, energetic interaction, a seamless fit between what you are and what the environment offers.
Wow.
And finally, perception itself is fundamentally understood as a field interaction, not merely a passive representation of incoming data that your brain then interprets. Your coherence field is not just a receiver. It's dynamically modulating and interacting in real time, actively maintaining these invariants within the ongoing projection of reality. It's a dance between your inner field and the outer world.
That makes the observer's role far more active, almost participative, than traditional views of perception. So where does this Gibsonian invariance precisely sit within the UCTE's deep layered ontology?
To place Gibsonian invariance precisely, it resides in layer 3, the relational layer. This layer is defined by interaction and symmetry breaking structures. Its specific function within the UCTE is observer field resonance recognition.
Layer 3. Okay.
So what this signifies is that invariances aren't derived from the deepest foundational coherence field, layer 2, nor are they simply raw temporal potential, layer 1. Instead, they emerge at the interface, the dynamic meeting point between coherent structure and its interactive projection. They are stable relational structures, perceived through the observer's unique reduction function. This means that despite constant movement, transformation, or sensory variation, the environment's resonance field is mapped into a stable, perceivable relational form. They are the coherent patterns that your system learns to recognize amidst the flow.
That distinction is truly crucial. Why isn't it in layer 4, the derived physical layer, if it's all about what we perceive physically? That seems counterintuitive at first.
That's a perfect question, and how is a key difference? Invariance isn't merely a byproduct of material conditions, which is what layer 4 describes as the apparent physical world. Instead, it's how coherence expresses stability through transformation. This occurs prior to conventional measurements or the final objectification into what we consider material phenomena. These Gibsonian invariances are described as pre-derivative resonance stabilities in projection space. They are fundamental to how reality coheres into stable forms for an observer rather than being a result of already materialized objects. They're the underlying rules of perception, not the outcome.
So Gibson laid the groundwork for how we perceive stability in a dynamic world. Now, what's truly mind-bending is how UCTE explains why that stability holds and what it really is at its deepest level. Take, for instance, transformation invariance, the idea that a coffee mug is still a mug no matter how you look at it. UCTE reframes this as coherence retention under projection reduction. This means the mug's inherent coherence signature or pattern remains stable even as your perspective reduces or transforms its image. It's the integrity of the underlying energetic pattern that persists.
And for texture gradient, what Gibson saw as lawful changes in texture with distance, UCTE calls field density coherence gradient. Think of it this way. Textures represent variations in the density of the environmental coherence field. As you move away, this field density compresses predictably, and your system reads that compression as depth.
Motion parallax, where nearby objects seem to fly by faster than distant ones, is reinterpreted as relative coherence displacement across observer geodesics. This implies that different densities of the coherence field produce those relative shifts as your observer field moves along its coherence path through spacetime. It's a dynamic interplay of fields.
The optical flow field, that sensation of the world expanding as you walk, is understood as projected coherence flow from observer-environment interaction. It's the surface expression of a deeper coherence flux or energetic exchange happening between your observer field and the environment's resonance pattern.
Affordance invariance, the notion that a chair consistently affords sitting, becomes persistent action symmetries and coherence interactions. This means the functional compatibility, the sittable quality, is a stable resonance pattern between your observer field and the chair's field, holding true across different interactions.
And finally, ratio-based invariance, like the horizon always being at eye level, translates to relative coherence ratios in dimensional projection. These consistent proportions, like those governing size and distance, are preserved because they're determined by intrinsic coherence proportions within the field, not just geometric rules. They are fundamental structural relationships in the energetic fabric of reality.
So, given all this, how do these specialized functions, the ARO observer function and SKO consciousness function, actively come into play to make perception, as we experience it, actually happen?
Well, the observer function, ARO, is constantly performing coherence reduction across all the various symmetry changes in your environment. It's the mechanism that actively distills information, allowing you to focus on stable patterns. Then, the consciousness function, SKO, takes over, stabilizing that perception by enhancing your internal resonance alignment with the external coherence and variance. Together, they don't just process data, they enable perception as a coherent, unified experience of the world structure. And this is the most profound part. It's not as a representation, but as a resonant interaction. You're not just looking at reality, you're participating in its unfolding.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, in your everyday life? This perspective radically changes how we think about what it means to be alive. It means that understanding, perceiving, and interacting with the world are not separate processes, but are all different modalities of coherence resonance. It's a truly unified field of experience. This view confirms that experience itself is the dynamic projection of coherence interaction. Perception is a real-time, dynamic field resonance. Invariance is a stable, relational attractor within the vast coherence field, and meaning that deep, resonant sense of purpose or understanding arises through stable affordance resonance alignment. It's a deeply interconnected universe, and you are an active part of its coherence.
To help visualize this, the UCTE paper provides a compelling, almost artistic ontological diagram. Imagine 4 distinct stacked layers, each representing a deeper aspect of reality. At the very bottom, layer 1 is homolectic invariance, pure timeless potential. Above it, layer 2 is the holoelectric field layer, the realm of pure energy, waveforms, and resonance patterns. Then crucially, layer 3 is the relational layer, where interaction and symmetry breaking occur. And finally, layer 4 is the derived perceptual layer, which is our everyday apparent physical reality. What's striking is that Gibsonian invariance is explicitly located inside layer 3, the relational layer. And it's a powerful arrow flowing upward from layer 2, the holoelectric field layer, into layer 3, labeled observer field resonance recognition. It powerfully illustrates how your observer system is actively engaging with and filtering these coherent patterns to form your stable perception.
Shifting gears slightly, let's move from how we perceive the world to the very nature of experience itself. The UCTE takes a bold stance here, suggesting that experience isn't just a passive accumulation of sensory inputs or a linear stream of events. Instead, it posits that experience is a holographically structured coherence interaction. This is a profound idea. Our internal reality is like a living, breathing hologram.
That's a powerful analogy. The core idea is that your experience is an internal hologram, generated from the intersection of these dynamic coherence fields. Your observer's intelligent field isn't just passively receiving information from the world, it's actively projecting phase-aligned resonance onto the incoming environmental coherence. It's a vibrant two-way street where your consciousness is shaping the incoming information to create your subjective reality.
And this leads us to the fascinating concept of qualia, the subjective texture of experience, the unique redness of red, the precise taste of chocolate, the feeling of warmth. How does the UCTE explain these deeply personal sensations?
Qualia, in this framework, aren't just chemical reactions in your brain. They arise from specific phase interference patterns between your internal coherence oscillations, your unique energetic signature, and the external resonance structures, like the chocolate's energetic pattern. Think of it like sound waves interacting. Where they overlap and interfere, they create specific qualities of sound. Similarly, where your inner and outer waves overlap, that creates the subjective felt quality of experience. Qualia are literally localized phase interference attractors in your internal coherence grid, your personal internal light show created by wave interference.
So just like a hologram, where every fragment contains the information of the whole, does every moment of our experience also encode the total coherence field?
Precisely. Each moment of your experience, no matter how small or focused, actually encodes the total coherence field in a reduced form. The specific information it contains, the clarity of the hologram, depends on the phase context and the clarity of your resonance alignment at that exact moment. It means every small piece of your experience holds a key to the entire picture.
And it's not just one seamless, undifferentiated block, is it? It feels like there are layers to how we experience things.
No, it's far more nuanced and dynamic. Experiences are layered across multiple coherence densities. You have the gross sensory impressions from your 5 senses, and then moving deeper, more subtle, fine-scale intuitive insights. These layers are constantly modulated by your internal state, your attention, and the clarity of your resonance, creating a rich, multidimensional tapestry of experience.
So where does this holographic nature of experience fit into the UCTE's layered ontology?
Each layer plays a role. Layer 1, the homolectic invariance, represents experience as pure potential coherence projection, the archetypal forms of all possible experiences. Layer 2, the holoelectric field layer, governs the fundamental coherence waveforms and phase alignment patterns that give rise to experience. Layer 3, the relational layer, is where experience becomes the active, resonant interaction between the observer and the environment's field. And finally, layer 4, the derived layer, is where you get the apparent sequenced events, the tangible objects, and the direct expression of qualia in your daily reality.
The paper even gives us a simplified mathematical way to conceptualize this. For experience's holographic interaction, the core idea is elegantly captured. Imagine your internal U wave, meeting the world environment wave. Where they constructively interfere, that's literally the real projection of your experience. It's a dynamic interplay, not a passive reception. And for the qualia field tensor, QFT, the math highlights that the phase difference between these interacting waves determines the felt quality, intensity, and even the coherence friction of your subjective experience. The smoother the interaction, the more harmonious the qualia.
The implications here are quite profound. It means experience isn't stored or recalled in a classic static way like files in a computer. Instead, it's re-resonated through your observer's coherence field. Memory in this model is a coherence echo, a lingering resonant pattern. Insight is a coherence phase collapse, a sudden unexpected alignment that brings clarity. And enlightenment, perhaps the most expansive form of experience, is described as a full, complete phase alignment between your internal coherence and the universal resonance field.
If experience is a holographic projection, it also implies it's not static. It's constantly changing, evolving, deepening. This leads us to the UCTE's discussion on coherence phase transitions and the evolution of experience. It frames these as fundamental shifts in the alignment, intensity, and resonance configuration of your coherence field.
Precisely. These aren't incremental adjustments, but significant, often dramatic, thresholds in the structure of experience. Think of significant developmental shifts in a person's life, moments of profound insight, or even the intense and often transformative effects of trauma or deep meditation. They are non-linear jumps, not gradual slides. It's like water changing from ice to liquid to distinct states with distinct properties.
So what defines these different states of experience? What makes one state different from another?
Each state corresponds to a distinct coherence field topology. This topology is characterized by its density, its specific structure, and how strongly it resonates with the ultimate omnilectic field. Imagine it like different crystalline structures. Each has a unique pattern and energy signature. Your emotional state, your mental clarity, your sense of connection, all these are reflections of your current coherence topology.
And these phase transition thresholds you mentioned, what triggers these sudden jumps?
They're triggered when coherence tension, an internal contradiction or buildup of dissonance or a critical resonance density crosses the threshold. It's perfectly analogous to water boiling, where critical temperature leads to a sudden dramatic phase change, or a system reaching a bifurcation point where a small input can lead to a radically different state. These are often experienced as sudden breakthroughs, epiphanies, or even difficult personal crises that force a restructuring.
The paper also talks about a natural coherence gradient flow. What does that imply about how experience unfolds for us?
It means experience naturally follows gradients towards regions of higher resonance. It's like water always flowing downhill, seeking a lower energy state, or a river naturally carving a path of least resistance. Our coherence naturally seeks greater alignment and harmony, unless that flow is blocked by internal friction, unresolved trauma, or systemic dissonance. It implies an inherent drive towards greater coherence and fulfillment.
And those sudden discontinuous changes, like moments of incredible clarity or aha moments.
Those are termed catastrophe points and insight events. They arise from catastrophe attractors in the coherence field. These are often felt as sudden epiphanies, profound breakthroughs in understanding, or even intense emotional or spiritual openings. There are moments where the field suddenly reconfigures into a new, more coherent pattern, allowing a discontinuous jump in awareness.
Let's quickly place this dynamic concept of phase transitions in the UCTE ontology.
In terms of phase transitions, the omnilectic layer serves as the source of infinite coherence potential, driving these evolutionary attractors, providing the ultimate template for unfolding. The holoelectric coherence layer is the field structure where these phase transitions literally encode the potential paths of evolution, the energetic pathways that can be traversed. The relational layer describes how the observer's field undergoes changes in alignment as it crosses these experiential thresholds. And finally, layer 4, the derived layer, is where we see the tangible, phenomenal, shift-altered perception, a new sense of identity, a changed understanding of meaning, and shifts in behavior.
The mathematical ideas for this involve a phase coherence potential function, which factors in the current state of coherence, the pull of a critical coherence attractor, and the phase difference from the universal field. And the transition condition is simply when the rate of coherence flow, the speed of energetic change, exceeds a critical threshold, triggering the sudden phase transition.
The implications for conscious evolution are deeply empowering. Spiritual awakening, for instance, is described as a profound coherence transition into alignment with higher dimensional resonance attractors, expanding one's awareness.
Trauma, on the other hand, can be understood as coherence field fragmentation or the binding of chaotic attractors, where patterns become locked in dissonance, disrupting the natural flow. Learning and personal transformation involve the active restructuring of your coherence field towards more integrated, harmonious phase configurations. And healing is fundamentally about restoring coherence continuity across those fragmented resonance zones. It's a very dynamic and hopeful view of personal growth and the potential for deep change.
Now let's tackle something even more fundamental to our experience and something we often take for granted: time. The UCTE in this section argues that time is not an external linear progression, but rather a coherence gradient, a structured unfolding of resonance. Your perceived sequence of events, your sense of past, present, and future, emerges from asymmetrical coherence reduction along specific vectors of phase alignment. It's a truly radical redefinition.
This is where our conventional understanding of time is truly challenged. It's not a background parameter that reality plays out within. Instead, time is a dynamic field flow of coherence. Your experience of ordered events, your subjective sense of past, present, and future comes from the specific way your observer field reduces and sequences this flow, creating localized, stable coherence attractors. It's an internal structuring of a larger, flowing reality.
So the past, present, and future aren't just fixed points on a linear timeline. How does UCTE define them?
Not at all in the traditional sense. The past corresponds to regions of already reduced coherent stable residues, like energetic echoes of events that have already collapsed into a fixed pattern. The present is the active phase interference zone, where you experience maximum resonance. It's the dynamic, vibrant now where all possibilities are actively interacting. And the future represents unrealized coherent structures, open potentials with various attractor weights that are actively pulling your coherence flow, shaping possibilities.
And it's not just a single scalar flow. This idea of multi-vector time sounds incredibly complex.
It means time isn't just a straight line. It's vectorial and multidimensional. It's composed of radial, rotational, and spiralic coherence axes. Imagine it not as a simple river, but a complex, multi-directional current system within a vast ocean of coherence. It's a far richer tapestry than a simple straight line can convey.
What about phenomena like déjà vu, or the feeling that you're caught in recurring patterns? Does UCTE have an explanation for time reversibility or looping?
Yes, those are directly accounted for. Looping occurs when your coherence field returns to earlier phase patterns via resonance. It's almost like a fractal recurrence, where similarly energetic configurations reappear. And the concept even touches on retrocausality, where your future-aligned coherence can subtly affect your present projection fields. This suggests a much more interconnected and fluid temporal landscape than we typically imagine.
Where does this profound concept of time sit in the UCTE ontology?
Each layer defines an aspect of time. In the omnilectic layer, time is pure potential coherence horizon, a temporal in its pure unstructured form. In the holoelectric field layer, time is seen as the propagation of resonance waves through phase space, the unfolding of energetic patterns. The relational layer sees time as the observer's active traversal through specific coherence gradient configurations. And layer 4, the derived layer, is where we experience perceived linear temporality, the familiar world of clocks, memory sequences, and linear causality.
The mathematical ideas for this include coherence gradient flow as a temporal vector, which defines time as the rate of change of coherence unfolding, giving it direction and magnitude, and a multi-vector temporal interference tensor, which describes how these multidirectional temporal fields interfere across various coherence directions.
The implications for your personal experience are incredibly insightful. Presence, for example, isn't a single fleeting point in time, but a vibrant resonance zone. Time dilation, that subjective experience of time slowing down or speeding up, occurs when coherence flow slows or phase density increases within your field. Timelessness, often experienced in deep meditation or altered states, is understood as the suspension of coherence gradient collapse. You're not reducing the coherence gradient in the usual linear way. And what about time travel? In this model, it's not about physically relocating in a linear timeline. It's about coherence realignment with prior or future phase zones, accessing those different resonance states, much like tuning into a different frequency.
To give us a mental image of this radical view of time, the paper describes a multi-vector coherence time structure diagram. Imagine yourself right at the very center, the origin of your own coherence field. That's the observer. From that point, there's an upward arrow pointing directly ahead. That's the present, representing the vector of active resonance alignment, the zone of maximum phase interference where your reality is most vibrant.
To the left, you see an arrow pointing to the past. This emerges from regions of already reduced coherence, essentially representing coherence residues or echo paths, the lingering energetic imprints of past events. It's not gone, but its energy has stabilized.
To the right, there's a spiralic arrow. This doesn't just go forward, it projects into nonlinear, non-local phase zones. It represents potential futures, but also signifies the possibility of multi-temporal integration, how different timelines or possibilities can interact. It's not a straight line to tomorrow, it's a spiraling set of possibilities that can unfold.
And below, a curved arrow signifies rotational time. These are cyclic temporal loops, like the recurring patterns of memory resonance, recurring phase states, or even what some traditions might call karmic attractors, patterns that repeat until resolved. This intricate structure truly captures time as a vectorial resonance topology, showing that your experience unfolds not in a single simple line, but as a vast dynamic field of coherence paths, including multiple simultaneous or looping directions. It's a far richer understanding of time than we usually consider.
Moving from the vastness of time to the intimacy of who we are, let's talk about identity as a coherence construct. The UCTE framework in this section suggests your identity isn't static or isolated. It's a dynamic, coherence-based construct arising from phase-stable resonance patterns. In this view, the self is viewed not as a fixed entity, but as a localized attractor, stabilized by coherence memory.
This is absolutely critical. The self is defined as a localized field pattern that remains phase-stable through constant resonance feedback. It's not a substance like a physical brain or a static soul, but rather an emergent product of repeated coherence configurations, a dynamic, constantly reforming pattern that creates the feeling of you. It's like a stable eddy in a flowing river. The water is constantly changing, but the eddy maintains its form.
And what about false identity fractals? That sounds incredibly intriguing and perhaps a little unsettling.
These are fragmented attractors, patterns of incoherence. Trauma, external conditioning, and unresolved dissonance can generate these subcoherence patterns that are mistakenly perceived as your true identity. They become phase-locked distortions, stuck, repeating patterns that don't align with your deepest coherence unless they are consciously recognized and reintegrated. They are not you, but they feel like you.
So if there are false identities, there must be a true self that aligns with this framework.
Yes. The true self is understood as the field configuration that is most perfectly aligned with the omnilectic coherence field, which is the deepest, most fundamental source of reality. This authentic identity naturally exhibits adaptability, clarity, and an increasing resonance across all layers of being. It's the most harmonious version of your self pattern.
And what role does the ego, often seen as a problematic aspect of self, play in this UCTE model?
The ego is understood as a stabilizing shell, a provisional structure that develops to protect that core coherence attractor. It acts as a buffering mechanism, filtering external inputs and helping sustain inner coherence in a complex world. However, if it loses its connection to that deeper coherence alignment, it can become rigid, chaotic, or even a source of fragmentation. It's a tool, but one that needs to be aligned.
How does this concept of identity map onto the UCTE layers?
Each layer contributes to identity. The omnilectic layer holds infinite identity potential as universal coherence archetypes, the fundamental blueprints. The holoelectric field layer is where identity forms through resonance pattern crystallization, the energetic shaping of these blueprints. The relational layer sees active identity construction through feedback and coherence interaction with the world. And the derived layer is where your expressed persona, your social roles, your memories, and your name-based identifiers manifest in everyday life.
The mathematical ideas for identity involve an identity attractor function, which states that your identity is the maximally self-reinforcing coherence pattern that persists across time intervals. And for fractal identity splitting, it formally shows how incoherence or dissonance leads to fragmented subpatterns, illustrating how those false identities can emerge.
The implications for your experience are profoundly transformative. Self-discovery is seen as a convergence toward your core symmetry coherence pattern, uncovering your truest essence. Healing involves the reintegration of those dissonant subfractals back into your primary attractor, restoring wholeness. Enlightenment is described as the full coherence identity, perfectly aligned with the omnilectic source, and an identity crisis. That's understood as a significant phase instability or interference collapse in your identity attractor function, a breakdown that precedes a potential breakthrough.
The paper even provides a compelling cosmic-style rendering of identity as a phase-stable attractor. Imagine, at the very center, a central radiant orb, that's the self, the core coherence attractor, luminous and perfectly centered. Around it, you can visualize concentric rings, that's the ego shell, providing protection and maintaining stability, like a membrane.
Beyond that, you might observe surrounding chaotic patterns, almost like distorted, shadowy echoes. These represent false identity fractals, misaligned or trauma-based coherence residues that imitate the self but are disconnected from the core. All of this is set against a deep starfield background, symbolizing the vast holelectric field and the onelectic potential from which your self pattern originally emerges.
It's a powerful visual. The image beautifully depicts identity not as a fixed thing, but as a resonance stabilized structure within a vast field of potential coherence. The authentic self is luminous and stable, but often surrounded by fragmented subpatterns that can create confusion. The ego acts as a vital but potentially limiting structural membrane. True transformation, the paper says, occurs when all these layers are aligned with the coherence field itself, leading to deep, authentic self-realization. Next, let's delve into emotion as coherence, acceleration, and friction. The UCTE framework posits that emotion isn't just a subjective feeling or a biochemical reaction. It's a fundamental coherence dynamic, arising as modulations of coherence flow within your observer's field in response to resonance, acceleration, interference, or friction. It's energetic feedback.
This means emotion is the energetic felt signal you experience when your coherence, your internal alignment and consistency increases or decreases rapidly, or when interference between your internal and external fields creates friction. It's a direct, real-time feedback mechanism, telling you about the state of your energetic alignment.
So positive emotions are like smooth acceleration.
Exactly. States like joy, peace, contentment, or inspiration correspond to smooth resonance amplification. Your coherence gradients align and flow effortlessly, creating a harmonious experience. Negative emotions, on the other hand, anger, fear, grief, anxiety, emerge from interference zones, phase mismatches, or blocked coherence flow. They often point toward fragmentation, misalignment, or resistance in your field.
So emotions are actually a kind of navigational signal rather than just something we feel.
Yes, precisely. They are potent coherence indicators. They guide your system toward or away from specific resonance attractors, much like field pressure gradients guide movement in physics. They're telling you something fundamental about your alignment with reality and where your energetic flow is being directed.
How do emotions fit into the UCTE's layers?
The omnilectic layer holds the root resonance potential and universal affectivity, the primal energetic wellspring of all emotion. The holoelectric field layer sees coherence wave intensification and resonance gradient encoding, the energetic patterns of emotion. The relational layer involves the observer's resonance modulation through interaction with external and internal fields. And the derived layer is where expressed emotion, your felt sense, your physical sensations, your behavior, and your physiology manifests.
The mathematical ideas here simplify to emotion as coherence gradient differential, meaning emotion is the rate of change of resonance change, essentially coherence acceleration or deceleration. And the frictional interference model suggests that high misalignment between coherence fields yields emotional turbulence, while low misalignment results in calm resonance, or what we call peace.
The implications are profound. Emotions are not just noise or a side effect. They are fundamental resonance feedback from your system about its alignment. Emotional mastery isn't about suppressing feelings, but about coherence calibration, learning to sense and adjust your field. Trauma can embed emotional friction as phase scars that distort future coherence flow, trapping you in past emotional states. And true healing and joy emerge from restoring smooth coherence acceleration in your field, allowing for an effortless, harmonious flow of experience.
Continuing our deep dive into the architecture of experience, let's explore memory as coherence echo and phase pattern retention. The UCTE states that memory isn't static information storage like files on a hard drive. Instead, it's described as a coherence echo, a retained phase imprint within your observer's coherence field.
That's a key distinction. Memory exists not as stored data, but as resonant attractors that reactivate when your current coherence aligns with the phase conditions of a previous experience. It's not about pulling a file from a cabinet. It's about a field-based echo of previous coherence states, activated by resonance proximity. Your present state rings with a past state.
So certain events leave behind these attractor residues in the field.
Precisely. When coherence flows form stable phase geometries, when you experience something with intensity and focus, they leave behind these energetic residues in the field. These residues then form the basis of recall. The stronger the original energetic imprint, the stronger the echo.
Does this imply that memory access isn't linear, like moving along a timeline to find a specific date?
Exactly. Memories are not linearly ordered but coherence-linked. This means that strong emotions, symbolic significance, or repeated energetic conditions can significantly increase recall probability because they create stronger resonance pathways that tune into the echo. It's why a certain smell can suddenly bring back a vivid childhood memory, completely out of context.
And what about trauma, where memories can be so vivid and impactful, often disruptive, returning unbidden?
Unresolved or high-friction coherence events leave distorted echo patterns. These scar echoes can indeed distort future resonance alignments, interfering with your present perception or even your sense of identity by continuously pulling you back to that discordant pattern.
Where does memory reside within the UCTE ontology?
The omnilectic layer holds eternal resonance archetypes, the pure fundamental memory potential, timeless forms of knowing. The holoelectric field layer is where phase pattern preservation occurs through field geometry, how those energetic imprints are stored. The relational layer activates these echo patterns through coherence alignment between your observer field and the environmental resonance. And the derived layers where you experience episodic recall, language-based memory, and the narrative and identity loops that we use to structure our past.
The mathematical ideas here involve a memory activation function, which simply means memory occurs when your current resonance closely matches a stored echo phase. And echo residue strength shows that the more dynamic energy embedded in the original coherence event, the stronger and more persistent the residual echo.
The implications are significant. Memory is fundamentally field-based, not just localized in your brain in the traditional sense. Spontaneous memory arises from natural resonance realignment with a past echo. Forgetting is seen as the dissipation of echo phase contrast or a decoherence of the stored geometry. The pattern fades. And trauma healing, in this view, involves actively repatterning those distorted echoes into higher coherence resonance, transforming their impact.
That leads perfectly into intuition as coherence pre-alignment and phase anticipation. The UCTE frames intuition not as a mystical hunch or an anomaly, but as a pre-aligned resonance detection mechanism. It's quite literally anticipatory coherence.
What's truly insightful here is that intuition arises when your observer's coherence field begins to align, to resonate with a yet unrealized potential, a structure that hasn't fully manifested. This allows you to access phase information before full coherence collapse into an event. It's the felt sense of potential attractors forming within the holoelectric field, like hearing the faint echo of a sound before it fully arrives.
So it's not truly predictive in a linear sense, like knowing exactly what will happen tomorrow?
No, it's not about knowing the future through a cause and effect prediction. Instead, it's about feeling future resonance patterns that are already beginning to pull your coherence flow. It's a subtle sensing of what's cohering into being, a gentle nudge from the emergent future. It's directional guidance, a sense of rightness, not a crystal ball.
And some people just seem more intuitive than others. Why might that be in this framework?
Highly intuitive individuals are described as having low-friction, high-sensitivity coherence fields. This allows them to detect subtle attractors forming in adjacent phase space that others, with more friction or noise in their field, might miss. However, this sensitivity also means intuition can be distorted through noise, emotional turbulence, unresolved trauma echoes, or incoherent mental patterns can create false signals or confusion, making it hard to trust.
How does intuition map onto the UCTE layers?
The omnilectic layer holds pure attractor potential, the primal, preformed coherent states that guide evolution. The holoelectric field layer is where forming resonance patterns are detected before they fully collapse into physical reality. The relational layer involves the observer's active alignment with these pre-collapse attractors, sensing their pull. And the derived layer is where you experience the felt sense of knowing, sudden insight, a gut feeling, or even a subtle form of precognition.
For the mathematical ideas, we have a phase anticipation function, where intuition arises from a small anticipatory overlap across coherence time, a slight resonance with a future state. And intuition signal strength shows that the faster and clearer an attractor forms, the stronger and more undeniable the intuitive signal, modulated by the precision of your phase alignment.
The implications for your experience are fascinating. Intuition is presented as a fundamental interface between present resonance and future coherence. Synchronicity, in this view, is the beautiful collapse of anticipated coherence into actualized resonance when things just align. True intuition can be cultivated through resonance purification, focused attention, and intentional coherence calibration. Conversely, misalignment between intuition and ego expectation or mental noise can cause conflict, leading us to dismiss or misinterpret these crucial pre-aligned insights.
Here's where it gets really poetic and insightful. The paper describes intuition not just as a concept, but almost as a living journey toward a luminous attractor. It paints a picture. From the depths of the observer's inner field, a radiant sphere of potential. A soft trajectory curves outward, not blindly, but drawn by something unspoken. It is not a path dictated by logic, nor one paved by the past, but a living arc, sculpted by resonance.
Ahead glows the attractor, not yet real, not yet known, but felt like a whisper in the coherence wind. It calls with a pulse not of language but of alignment. Its light curls space around it, forming gravity not of mass but of meaning.
This is intuition, not prediction, but recognition. Not certainty, but directional resonance. A sensing of what the field already knows before the mind collapses it into form.
The arrow between observer and attractor is not force. It is invitation. It curves because coherence does not travel in straight lines. It flows through tensional symmetry, through soft alignment, until thought, feeling, and form converge. It truly makes the concept tangible, almost alive.
Following intuition, let's talk about imagination as coherence reconfiguration and creative projection. The UCTE framework argues that imagination isn't just idle fantasy. It's a profound creative function of coherence field modulation. It actively reconfigures internal coherence geometries and projects alternative phase structures, effectively acting as a generative engine of potential realities.
What's deeply insightful here is that imagination doesn't just think of things. It actively reshapes coherence waveforms internally, generating new attractor states before they collapse into external resonance. It's like an internal blueprint generator, designing new realities at an energetic level.
So when we vividly imagine something, we're not just creating a mental image, we're creating a resonance construct.
Exactly. The imagined form is a potential field geometry that is sent outward into the holoelectric environment. This energetic template then has the potential to magnetize or self-organize, pulling in corresponding elements from the field to bring that imagined form into being. This implies a very real, energetic, and formative component to imagination.
And these imagined realities, are they like virtual mock-ups of what could be?
Precisely. They are coherence mock-ups, generated by rearranging internal field components without fully binding them to the external field yet. They exist in a virtual phase space, allowing for experimentation and refinement before physical manifestation. It's like a sculptor envisioning their work before touching the clay.
This sounds like it could have a very direct link to the concept of manifestation, or bringing things into reality.
It does. Sustained imaginative projection, when it's phase stable and infused with clear resonance, can indeed serve as the seed geometry for future coherent actualization. It provides the initial coherent pattern around which reality can begin to cohere and unfold. It acts as an energetic template for creation.
How does imagination fit into the UCTE's ontological layers?
The ontolectic layer contains the archetypal coherence potentials, the divine source of all creative possibility. The holoelectric field layer is where the internal reconfiguration of phase geometry into non-present arrangements occurs, the energetic blueprinting. The relational layer involves the observer's active projection of these novel resonance fields into interaction with the world. And the derived layer is where mental images, symbols, narratives, and virtual realities manifest in our conscious awareness.
Mathematically, we have an imaginative projection function, which means the observer's coherence field undergoes a modulation operator to actively reconfigure its geometry, forming new patterns. And imaginal resonance potential measures the distance between the projected imagined form and its resonant match in the environment. The lower that value, the closer it is to manifesting in reality.
The implications are profound. Imagination isn't false or unreal, it's pre-real. Creative genius, in this view, arises from this incredible phase restructuring capacity within the coherence field, the ability to imagine and bring forth new forms of coherence. Repetitive, focused imagination can indeed create a powerful resonant template that guides external events. And conversely, negative imagination, like chronic worry or fear projection, can inadvertently pull incoherent futures into phase if stabilized by strong belief and consistent energetic focus. A powerful tool for creation or for limitation.
Next, let's consider will as coherence directive and field stabilization. The UCTE suggests that will isn't just intention or desire, it's a directive coherence function. It actively selects, anchors, and amplifies specific coherence pathways, stabilizing resonance patterns against resistance. It's described as the executive coherence modulator.
That's a crucial distinction. Will, in this framework, channels and concentrates your observer's coherence field toward a defined attractor or phase goal. It actively reduces energetic diffusion and decoherence, focusing your life force. It's the deliberate focusing of your personal field.
So it's the force that prevents things from falling apart or dissipating.
Precisely. Will stabilizes phase structures. It prevents coherent structures, your intentions, your merging identities, your desired transformations, from collapsing prematurely or fragmenting under external or internal pressure. It provides the necessary sustained energy for manifestation.
What's the difference, then, between will and intention? They seem similar.
Intention seeds a pattern. It sets the initial direction, a desire, or a goal. But will sustains it. Without will, intentions often dissipate as incoherent projections, lacking the necessary force to coalesce into reality. Will enables phase momentum across resistance zones, like a vessel maintaining its trajectory through turbulent currents. It's the consistent, unwavering push.
How does will fit into the UCTE layers?
The omnilectic layer holds the root directive of universal intention toward order and coherence. The holoelectric field layer is where coherence, vector stabilization, and intentional phase reinforcement happen, the energetic channeling. The relational layer involves the observer's active modulation of resonance flow across phase zones, making choices and committing energy. And the derived layer is where willpower, conscious choice, determination, and the manifestation of our goals through persistent action manifest.
The mathematical ideas involve will as phase reinforcement operator, where will increases as coherence, intensity, and alignment are maintained over time. It's about sustained focus. And a will capacity metric, which correlates with the ability to sustain a desired coherent structure during dynamic change and external influences.
The implications for your experience are that will is truly the agent of transformation. It's not just desire, but directive resonance held through turbulence. Individuals with high will act as powerful field anchors, stabilizing emergent coherence in themselves and even influencing their immediate environment or others around them. A lack of will, conversely, leads to resonance collapse, incoherence dispersion, or loss of focus and direction. Spiritual traditions often equate will with divine intention, reflecting its core role in bringing coherence into being.
Now we move to a concept that underpins much of our human experience, meaning as coherence convergence across dimensional layers. The UCTE states that meaning is not arbitrary, not just something we mentally assign. It's the emergence of resonance convergence across multiple coherence dimensions. It's the active, deep phase locking of significance.
What's deeply compelling here is that meaning arises when multiple disparate layers of resonance, cognitive understanding, emotional resonance, symbolic connection, and energetic alignment converge into a unified experience. It's a deep, multidimensional alignment that creates a profound sense of significance.
So the more layers involved in this convergence, the deeper and more impactful the meaning.
Yes, exactly. The more ontological layers, meaning, permeates from abstract concepts to embodied experiences to energetic and spiritual insights, the deeper and more transformational it becomes. It's an emergent significance. It's not something externally given to you, but something that arises when disparate coherence patterns synchronize across dimensions, forming a powerful, phase-stable attractor.
And when something feels meaningful to us, what's happening at the coherence level?
When something feels meaningful, it's because your observer's field has entered partial or full resonance convergence with a larger, more fundamental coherent structure. It's a deep, felt recognition of alignment, a sense of clicking into place with a greater truth.
How does meaning integrate with the UCTE layers?
The omnilectic layer represents infinite archetypal coherence, the field of pure ultimate meaning, the source of all significance. The holoelectric field layer contains symbolic and energetic resonance templates of potential significance, the patterns that can hold meaning. The relational layer handles personal symbolic alignment across perception and narrative, where you assign and experience meaning. And the derived layer is where expressed meaning in language, symbols, story, and social resonance takes concrete form in our daily lives.
The simplified mathematical ideas include a meaning resonance function, which states that meaning is strongest when multiple resonance channels converge, amplifying the sense of significance. And a meaning field gradient, which measures the flux of potential meaning, often perceived as a felt pull towards something deeply significant.
The implications are that meaning is fundamentally phase-locked coherence, not just a mental label we apply. Deep meaning arises when your symbolic, emotional, and energetic layers align in perfect resonance. Meaninglessness, conversely, is resonance fragmentation or incoherence across dimensions, a feeling of disconnect. Meaning in this framework is truly the coherence bridge between the world and the soul. It is not merely the what, but the profound why that resonates within your deepest being.
Let's delve into truth as coherence integrity across frames. The UCTE takes a compelling stance here. Truth isn't just factual correspondence or logical consistency, it's fundamentally coherence integrity across ontological frames. It's phase consistent across symbolic, energetic, relational, and ontological layers. Think of it as a transdimensional coherence invariant, something that holds true no matter how you look at it or what lens you apply.
This means truth is that which remains in perfect resonance through any transformation or shift in perspective. It's coherence that doesn't collapse under a frame shift. The truer something is, the more consistently it persists across multiple dimensional frames, be they emotional, symbolic, logical, energetic, or ontological. It's a consistent pattern regardless of the filter.
So if that's truth, then falsehood isn't just incorrect, it's fundamentally incoherent.
Precisely. Falsehood is a disruption or misalignment of coherence across frames. Something might appear coherent and true when confined to a local, isolated domain, like a belief system or a specific emotion. But if it disintegrates or reveals inconsistencies when tested across broader coherence, when seen from another frame, then it fails the test of truth. True truth in this framework isn't something declared or asserted. It's revealed through resonance when all layers of experience click into place and align.
How does this profound concept of truth fit into the UCTE ontology?
The omnilectic layer holds eternal truth structures as phase-invariant coherence archetypes, the fundamental timeless truths. The whole electric field layer contains truth waveforms that maintain integrity across symbolic transformation, the energetic patterns of truth. The relational layer involves truth as fidelity between the observer's resonance and external structure, the recognition of true patterns. And the derived layer is where logical, empirical, or linguistic expressions of truth manifest in our everyday reality.
The mathematical ideas involve a truth integrity function, where truth is coherence that survives all transformations and projections without distortion. It holds its shape. And a truth tension index, which quantifies the coherence friction between different frames. A lower value implies greater interframe resonance and thus greater truth.
The implications are profound. Truth isn't just objective versus subjective. It's a continuity of coherence across all layers of being. Deep truths resonate at all levels, from intellectual understanding to embodied experience to soul-level knowing. And truth collapses when coherence is fractured, either through suppression, distortion, or frame isolation. In this ontology, truth equals resonant fidelity, the highest, clearest form of coherence.
This section introduces a really compelling new term, alethmetry. Can you break that down for us?
Certainly. Aletheia is an ancient Greek concept often translated as unconcealment, disclosure, or revelation. Metry refers to measurement or structuring. So alethmetry is the measurement and recognition of truth as coherence that remains invariant when translated across the layers of experience and reality. It's not just about what is right, it's about what resonates harmonically and consistently across all depths of reality.
So what are the core concepts underpinning this idea of alethmetry?
It emphasizes resonant invariance. The truth is a coherence that doesn't collapse or distort when refracted through different dimensional or perceptual lenses. It also highlights truth emergence through unconcealment, drawing from philosophers like Heidegger, meaning truth is revealed through a process of alignment, rather than simply being stated. It arises when the veil of incoherence or illusion is lifted. There's also multi-frame coherence. A claim or insight is truer the more it remains consistent and resonant across emotional, cognitive, symbolic, energetic, and ontological frames. And finally, falsehood as frame-limited coherence. Something might appear coherent and true in one isolated layer, but if it disintegrates or becomes dissonant under cross-frame translation, it fails the test of alethmetry.
And what are the implications of this new way of understanding truth?
Alethmetry unifies philosophy, physics, and phenomenology by grounding truth in coherence integrity, providing a common language for diverse fields. It defines aletheia not as a static noun, but a dynamic process of unfolding what was hidden through layered resonance convergence. Falsehood isn't just misinformation. It's a fundamental resonance inconsistency across domains. Ultimately, alethmetry can become a living practice, a way of testing insight, speech, emotion, and vision against the coherence and integrity of all layers of your being. It's a guide to living in greater alignment with truth.
Next up, beauty as harmonic resonance across coherence fields. The UCTE asserts that beauty isn't merely subjective or culturally determined. It's the harmonic alignment of coherence across fields. It resonates simultaneously across dimensions, generating inner unity and external clarity, acting as a profound felt signature of phase harmony.
What's truly captivating here is that beauty arises when waveforms across various coherence fields synchronize perfectly, producing elegant, balanced structures. It's a literal harmonic phenomenon in the coherence field, like multiple instruments playing in perfect tune, creating a beautiful chord.
So true beauty, in this view, is a multidimensional experience.
Absolutely. True beauty is experienced when your observer's field enters deep resonance with a structure that reflects symmetry, proportion, and effortless coherence flow across multiple ontological layers. It's not just visual or auditory, it's a deep systemic harmony that resonates through your entire being. It's a recognition of underlying order.
And it connects to ideas like fractal elegance or simplicity in design.
Yes. Beauty often coincides with what the paper calls coherence compression, minimal structures encoding maximal meaning and information. This gives rise to the elegance, clarity, and depth you perceive in truly beautiful forms, whether it's a natural fractal, a piece of classical music, or a perfectly designed object. The deepest forms of beauty even act as coherence catalysts, drawing the observer into higher order alignment and a more harmonious state.
How does beauty fit into the UCTE ontology?
The analectic layer holds archetypal harmonic forms, the Platonic coherence structures that are the source of all beauty. The holoelectric field layer contains waveform resonance and energy symmetry templates, the energetic patterns of beauty. The relational layer involves the aesthetic coherence that emerges between the observer and an external or internal pattern. And the derived layers where expressed beauty manifests in concrete forms, in art, image, sound, proportion, and movement in our physical world.
The mathematical ideas here involve a beauty harmonic equation, where beauty peaks when interlayer interference is constructive, meaning all the layers are amplifying coherent resonance together, and it references the golden coherence ratio. Patterns that approximate this ratio often indicate fractal resonance balance, which is consistently associated with visual, acoustic, and energetic beauty.
The implications are that beauty isn't superficial. It's resonance symmetry across nested coherence. What is felt as beautiful reflects a deep coherence recognition in your observer's field, a profound sense of alignment. Art, music, and architecture, in this view, can act as powerful phase-tuning devices, aligning consciousness with universal harmonics. And conversely, forms we perceive as ugly or discordant are often described as coherence-disrupted geometries or intentionally distorted phase fields, lacking that inner harmony.
Finally, we arrive at perhaps the most profound concept: love as coherence unification and resonance expansion. The UCTE says love is not just an emotion or attachment. It's the unifying principle of coherence fields, a dynamic force that draws separate resonance structures into mutual amplification, alignment, and wholeness. It's the very coherence engine of relational emergence.
What's truly breathtaking here is that love emerges when coherence fields entrain and synchronize, actively reducing phase separation and maximizing mutual resonance. It's a process of becoming one in energetic alignment, dissolving boundaries. It's not just a feeling, it's a fundamental force.
And it's about expansion, not contraction or clinging?
Absolutely. Love in this framework is not contraction or possession. It is the spontaneous expansion of the coherence field through mutual reinforcement. It increases total resonance density across shared space, creating a field that is far larger and more powerful than the sum of its individual parts. It's a non-linear expansion of being.
And how does the UCTE view unconditional love?
At its highest form, unconditional love is perfect alignment with the analectic coherence field, offering coherent presence without condition, distortion, or resistance. It's a universal fundamental alignment with the source of all coherence. And in quantum and metaphysical terms, love acts as an entanglement stabilizer, sustaining non-local coherence bonds across spacetime, allowing for profound memory, connection, healing, and transcendence to occur even across vast distances.
How does love integrate with the UCTE layers?
The omnilectic layer is the unifying field of cosmic coherence, the very source of unconditional resonance and ultimate unity. The holoelectric field layer involves energetic entanglement and field expansion between resonance partners, the actual energetic dance of love. The relational layer handles interpersonal coherence entrainment, empathy, and trust, the manifestations of love in relationships. And the derived layer is where emotion, affection, desire, bonding, and acts of service manifest in our daily experience.
The mathematical ideas here include love as a coherence coupling operator, where love maximizes when phase difference between fields is minimal and entanglement is maximized. They become truly interwoven. And a field expansion metric, which shows that love creates a larger shared field than the sum of its parts, demonstrating a true nonlinear coherence expansion.
The implications are that love is fundamentally a field condition, a profound resonant structure between beings, not just a subjective feeling. True love, in this view, is sustained coherence unity that persists even through transformation and challenges. Compassion arises when you allow coherence, transference, literally sharing your coherent field with another, alleviating their dissonance. And divine or cosmic love reflects total coherence alignment across all ontological layers, the ultimate state of unity and harmony.
What an incredible mind-expanding journey we've taken today. We began by truly appreciating James J. Gibson's foundational insights into how we perceive a stable world through invariance laws. And then we saw how those profound ideas find a home, a truly deep, unifying home within the unified coherence theory of everything. We've explored how the UCTE radically redefines our understanding of everything, from the holographic nature of our experience to the evolution of our consciousness through phase transitions, how time is a coherence gradient, and how our very identity is a phase-stable attractor within this vast dynamic field.
What stands out to me, and what I hope stands out to you, is how the UCTE presents a truly unified view of reality. Everything we've discussed today, from how you see a simple object to the deepest, most expansive feeling of love, is understood as a manifestation of coherence. It's a deep, resonant structure that underpins all experience, providing a powerful framework for gaining knowledge quickly, but also deeply and thoroughly. It challenges us to see the world not as separate pieces, but as an interconnected, resonating whole.
So what does this all mean for you, for your unique experience of life? If our entire reality, our every experience, is a holographic projection of intersecting coherence fields, and our very self is truly a phase-stable attractor within this vast dynamic field, what astonishing new possibilities does this open up for shaping your reality, for understanding your deepest motivations, and for truly grasping your profound place within the universe? Take a moment to consider how this deep dive might subtly or perhaps dramatically change your daily perceptions. It's not just about what new facts you've learned, but how this deeper knowledge might resonate and repattern your own coherence field. Thank you for joining us on the Deep Dive.